how you can increase your Fiverr sales. And I'm gonna talk today about exactly the strategy that I'm using myself in order to see an increase in my sales and have a much better conversions, and also not be always reliant on the surge of Fiverr. And first of all, I've been growing my journey in Fiverr for last, I would say, 8 years now. As you can see, we're currently in the end of October. Right now we have almost 25K made in October. I think this number is gonna go up in the last few days, but basically my journey has been very transparent. If you've been watching this channel, thank you so much for coming back as well. But I've been, as you can see, from 2017 growing my Fiverr journey and just running it and optimizing it. Of course, it's not been always like this. There's always ups and downs, but I'm excited to show you just some things, especially I'm testing right now and doing right now, and probably in the next few weeks I'm gonna make an update of this video so you can see if it actually worked or if it not maybe work, and you can also test it yourself and report back in the comments as well. So my journey has been very consistent this year, and I started to recently focus a lot on building a more powerful system for re-engaging the clients. And I wanted to talk to you about basically in detail, going step by step on how you can do similar as well, and how you can really have a much better results for your Fiverr journey. So the first thing you need to understand that it all depends on your service, right? So if you're offering like logo design, probably it's going to be a bit more complicated, because let's say if someone orders the logo right now, they probably don't need your logo, new logo again in a few days. They maybe need it, I don't know, in several months, or maybe they have another project, or maybe they will need actually the website. So that's why it doesn't really matter what you're offering, but it's important to understand your services and eventually have a logical structure. So for example, in my case, I'm doing an Instagram growth. So for me, it's going to be logically to reach out to the client again, let's say in a month, and offer them a service to potentially run their Instagram account. Or for example, if we're doing content as well, creation, content management, the same thing. We're gonna go finish the campaign. If the client is happy, we're gonna go reach out again, and we're gonna offer the client, if they want to interested, to continue working. Many times what I've seen, the biggest issue with Fiverr is the retention, because the clients, they might go for the subscription for 3 or 6 months, and then eventually when the 3 months ends, they think that this is still going on. So and they might not be using Fiverr as often, they might not go into their account, there's a lot of other things. So that's why it's always a bit tricky, but still, when you have this a tracking system, it eventually is going to work out well, because even if the buyer came to you maybe, let's say 6 months ago, right, and then he just tried you for a month, it doesn't mean that this buyer is not using Fiverr. They're still most likely are using Fiverr for other things, for other services. And by you having this effective tracking, you will be able to reach out to that buyer again and offer potentially to work as well. So the two components that are extremely important, the first one is the communication. So that applies a very basic things. We start with the timer messages, right? So you have to be as fast as you can to respond to those, because when the buyer sends the timer messages, they're not only sending to you, they're sending to probably 5, 6 or 10 other sellers, your competitors, whoever is going to respond first, and that's how you will win the sale. The other thing, the timer messages, is one thing. The second thing is, of course, the tone of your communication. I've actually seen some people are, some sellers are like, maybe sound like a rude, a little bit. And you want to be always friendly and polite with your communication. This is the most important thing, because the buyer is going to feel, and I think that's also might apply to, yes, let's say if you're not native English speaker, in your language, maybe some things I don't know, said differently, or they can be understood differently, but still you want to be super friendly, you want to be super nice, especially when you're communicating with the buyer. You want to be as useful, as helpful as possible. So this is very important. That's how I would say my journey has been, because I'm trying to be always as polite as possible, and that's what the buyers feel a more connection with me. So the next thing is, of course, you want to be polite, yes, friendly, but you also want to be direct. So by direct, I mean that you don't want to ask the buyer for like too many questions, you know, like, oh, what are your goals for 2024, for 2025? You know, the buyers usually, they don't have as much time, you know, to go into these things. And if you start to really put like a lot of pressure and, you know, just requesting this information, the buyer will just be like, you know, too overwhelmed and it's going to go with someone else. You just want to be direct, meaning that you want to get the information you need, let's say the website, social media profiles. You want to review them and you want to say, okay, I know what I can do to this buyer. This is what I can do, and just be direct with what you can do, with the pricing, with the packages, and the links to your gigs. That is the best way, because that's how you can convert this buyer quite fast, and you will get much better results and sales. So these are the very core principles. Besides the communication, we need to have, of course, some sort of a tracking, right? Tracking or a sheet. Google Sheet, maybe Excel, maybe something different. So it's very important to know where your buyers are. It's very important to have a control of them. So on Fiverr, we do have a few places where we can do that. The first place we have is we can actually go to my contacts. If you click on the growth and marketing, you will be able to see the contacts. Actually, for me, I need to refresh it maybe like 10 times before it's gonna load, but I'm happy that Fiverr actually fixed it, because before it was not loading at all. So now it's loading, but I need to click a few times, maybe because I have almost 15,000 buyers. So, but this is one place that because you can actually see your buyers, you can see how many orders they have placed, you can see how much they spend, you can see when was the last order, and you can just go and communicate with them directly, straight away to the Fiverr inbox. So that's one place. The second place you have is that you can actually go to your completed orders and you can check your let's say 5-star reviews, or let's say 4.7. It's still great. I think even 4-star reviews. Of course, we want to always have 5-star, but it's up to you. If you want to reach out to the 4-star, you can do that as well if you feel that is going to be useful. So that's an option as well. But we want to reach out, of course, to the 5-star. And what we want to do is specifically, we want to make sure we track them. So we can go ahead and click on the star here on that order, and then that order is going to appear in the start section. So like this, you can actually have a control, and you can just reach out to the buyers in the future, and you can just keep your sort of organization inside of Fiverr. This is one way. And of course, when you go to your inbox as well, you can keep track of the labels. You can actually have different labels for different things. The reason why I'm not a huge fan of it, because sometimes it actually doesn't work. So you can label conversation, it's not going to be applied. This is, I think, internally a bug on Fiverr, which is probably just too complicated to fix. They probably have to completely redo the inbox, but this is something that it's also possible to keep track. But again, I wouldn't rely maybe 100% on it, because sometimes it's just not accurate, and sometimes the labels are not getting applied. So instead, I will suggest to always have your my contacts section here, which is extremely important, and then you have your other places like completed orders and the start messages. So okay, let's go for this tracking sheet as well. Besides the internal, so we can put internal Fiverr, right? So the ones that I explained, but there are also other places, and the other places are you can use like a Notion as well. You can create a Notion template, and you can keep track everyone there. You can have a Google Sheet as well. You can have like a Google Sheet with all the information with your buyers, when they ordered, well, let's say how much they spend with you as well. You can have a lot of things, and you can even go here and you can just copy all of this information here, just like, of course you need to spend some time to load the data, but you can just copy all of that and you can just put it in the Excel or a Google Sheet. You have to kind of like, of course, reorganize a little bit, but that way you can actually keep the control of them. So besides Google Sheets, we can there's many other things. You have also places like Trello. You can actually maybe create like a Trello cards, or you can use, maybe Jira is not ideal, but you have Asana as well. So there's just a lot of these places where you can do that. I would start with first doing that internally on Fiverr, because like this it's easier. You don't want to rely on too many platforms, and eventually you have to update them as well, so it will take some time. So this is kind of like the setup how it can look for you. And this is how I'm using it as well. It works really well for me. I'm seeing results. And of course, in the future, let's say if you want to continue scaling your journey, you don't have enough time, of course, you can hire a team member who is going to be working specifically on these tasks and specifically on making sure that he or she can work on re-engaging and bringing more sales to you and bringing more clients to you as well. So now let's talk about what we can actually say to the potential, actually not the potential, your buyer who has already purchased from you. So there are a few things here, and the first thing, I just wrote this message. This is of course, you can write it however you prefer, but this is something that I would write it if I were doing it. So I will go with something like, hey, hope you're having a great week, or hope you're having a great day, or hope you're doing well. And then you can say, I wanted to check in to see if you'll be interested too. And then, you can say, let's say, continue working on your, interested to continue growing your Instagram account, or continue creating content for your social media, or continue improving your website, or continue improving your SEO ranking, or, these things you can come up depending on what kind of service you do. Or you can say, for example, if you did a logo design and then maybe you want to help your client with a website, you can say, hey, hope you're doing well. I wanted to check in if you're interested in potentially having a website created, or if you're interested to maybe something else. So you can of course come up with the idea, because your goal should be the buyer that you worked with, they probably need more things, and they just don't know that you offer them. They don't know that you can do websites. They don't know that you can do logo designs. That's why they go on Fiverr and they will find someone who do logo, who is doing websites, who is doing, other things. So that's why it is important to build that loyal connection. And that goes back to the being polite, being friendly, because the buyer is going to appreciate it, and they will rather ask you. They will say, hey, in my case, hey Vasily, I want you to run paid ads. Do you guys offer this service? And I don't offer this service, so I will just recommend someone who does, on Fiverr. But let's say if I would offer that service, I could potentially close this client for another maybe $300, $400, $500 per month, and that can be a great boost for the agency, and that can be, a great as well, like a stronger relationship. Eventually, the more things your buyer will sign up for you, the more they're going to depend on you. And this is a good and a bad thing. The good thing, of course, like you're probably going to work long term, right? The bad thing, you of course need to spend a lot of resources on that client, so you eventually are, is depending on that client. But for the client as well, if they're using you for many things, they probably don't want to really, it's going to be really hard for them to find someone else and start to change things. So again, but this is something that you can keep a friendly message, a friendly follow-up, and just send it to the buyer. And then you have to understand that there's a very important reminders about this. So you don't want to spam. Fiverr is against, you have to be very careful with that. That's why I highly, recommend to not follow up with people that you never worked. Let's say, for example, in the inbox, you will get maybe messages like, hey, I want to order your service, or I'm interested, and then they just ghost you, they just go away. So don't really spend time doing the follow-ups with them, because the problem what can happen is that this buyer, maybe potential buyer, will get annoyed and they will just click report, and you don't want to have any issues with your account, and then Fiverr can tell you like, yeah, you've been spamming. So make sure you're doing this only with your loyal buyers, people who actually loved your service, because they will never go and click on the report when you send this kind of a message, a friendly message. They might say like, hey, thank you, but I'm not interested at the moment, I don't have a budget, or I'm not focusing on this. So they might just tell you that. Once they tell you that, this is basically that's it. You don't need to bother this person again. Maybe you can reach out in like a few months, like something like this. You can say, hey, just wanted to check in, hope you're doing well, if you need any help, blah blah blah. You can just maybe send in a few months. It's not going to be hurting you. But also, this is kind of like the formula I have. So you send one follow-up, you want to wait for maybe 2 to 3 days, right? Just to see how they will, because you can also see if they went online or not, right? So if they went online, probably they've seen your message. Then you can also send one follow-up. After 3 days, you can send one follow-up like, hey, just wanted to check in if you received my previous message, right? and then you'll wait again for 2 to 3 days, and then this is what you can also do. You can also send another one, right? So in total, you're gonna have, so you have the first message, right, where you send, hey, just wanted to check in to see if you're, let's say interested. Then you wait 2-3 days, you send another one, hey, just wanted to see if you got my previous message. And then you have the third one, right, like the third time. So you do like two follow-ups. And that's, I mean, you need to see how it is. If the person says no, thank you, then you just say no. If they've been online, yeah, they probably have seen your message, they're not interested, so it's better to not bother them for too long. So, but this is a very, very powerful strategy, and you know, these have to be backed up with the tracking. So you need to have a tracking sheet, because that's why, you know, you're gonna be, otherwise you're just gonna be lost. You know, you're just gonna be not organized with this. So when you have the tracking sheet, when you have the actual data and you update the data regularly, that can be very, very powerful. And that's how it's been, you know, working in my case. I feel there is, I'm not trying to do this really heavy, I'm just doing very softly in terms of like the re-engagement, but I see it works instant. You know, sometimes these buyers, they just need like a reminder, and they will be, you know, happy to use your service. So guys, I hope this was useful. Please let me know in the comments if you maybe doing something similar, if you maybe, I don't know, if you will try it. Please report back maybe in a week, you know, and say if it's working, if it's not working. You can also share your ideas as well. Don't forget, I have a free Fiverr course for anyone who wants to just know how, you know, everything works, how you can find the service you want to do, how you can manage communication, manage negative complaints, handle, you know, those types of cases as well. You can check out the description. It's a free course. It used to be a paid one, but I made it for free, so feel free to sign up. And also, once you sign up for my newsletter, I'm going to be updating you with some really cool stuff that I'm working right now. Some of the, you know, interviews you see right now, more stuff behind the scenes that is not on YouTube, but it's more behind the scenes. And I have the footage, and I will be just happy to share it with you guys who are subscribing to my newsletter, freelancehustle.com. So you can go there. And then, of course, if you want to send me a message or anything, you can do it on X, which is Twitter, used to be, and Instagram as well. I have it the same. I'll put the link in the description as well, so just feel free to send me a message if you need help. I'll do my best. Sometimes I might not get back to you. Please don't be upset, because you know, I rather you send me a message like specifically with your issue, rather than like, you know, say, hey, how you're doing. I mean, you know, I'm getting a lot of those, to be honest. I would love to speak with you, but you know, if you just have a specific issue, please write it to me. I will do my best to get back to you, and hope I can help you. So thank you so much. Consider subscribing if you have not subscribed yet. Give a thumbs up for this video, and hope to see you in the next one.